Hi everyone, this is Esateys. Today we're going to talk about something that virtually every single person on the planet experiences. Making peace with pain. Pain is something that we all have a perception of. But before we get started on that, I want to continuously and overwhelmingly express my gratitude for those of you that are sharing these videos. It is so awesome that you're doing that because it just gives people a little bit of something different to think about than all the other things that most people think about most of the time. So thank you for doing that. Also, thank you so much for the self-commitment that you have, meaning that you're showing up here because you know that there's more of you that wants to blossom and more of you that would like answers to things that will create you having a life that you really love. And I also want to thank you for just showing up every day. It's pretty impressive and very exciting for me to be with you. So pain. Everyone has some form of pain. It can be psychological, it can be mental, it can be physical, it can be however it is perceived, but it's there. And one of the things that's important to know is that pain is actually optional, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But let's just talk about for a moment the idea that pain is actually a sense of resistance. Now, I know that we don't consciously think that we're resistive. But when we have the experience that we're having something occur in our body, your mind might say, well, I didn't make that happen. And how could that have anything to do with me? My body's just doing what it's doing. Well, that's not true. Things that you eat create free radicals. That's a form of resistance in the body's immune system. It causes a difficulty. If you're having pain in your calves, think about, did you just work out or did you just climb a lot of steps, or are you not eating and drinking things that are really balancing your electrolytes? And when you think about your mental distress, is it because you're resisting what's happening with your work? Or is it emotionally because somebody said something to you? All of these are perceived as pain, and they're all based on a resistance to what is. When we recognize that and I know that I say this a lot, but it's a really, really important key concept for us to understand that in our lives, our pain is how we are being with what it is that's going on in our lives. So what happens and how do we get through it? Well, first of all, the biggest thing and the most important thing is to be okay with what is. Now, first, I know that some of you might be thinking, I am not okay when I have a migraine headache. And I'm not okay when I have a stomach ache, or I'm throwing up, or I'm whatever. Well, maybe you're not really okay with that moment like that, but you could relax into it. You could allow yourself to perhaps be less resistive to it. Because when you do, what happens is the body quiets down. Remember that we've spoken many times about how when we resist, we tighten up, we stop the flow. Remember we did this exercise on one of the videos where we held our hands really tight, and then when we opened it up, we saw the blood flow back into our hands and our fingertips. Well, that's how it is when we're in pain. We immediately, we tighten up because we don't want to have pain. Every person is driven by the pain-pleasure principle. That means that we seek pleasure and we resist pain. We move away from it as quickly as we can. Do you know the real secret to freedom? The real secret to freedom is being okay with being in pain. What if you didn't get your instant gratification every time you wanted something? What if you didn't have somebody tell you what you wanted to hear every single moment? What if you had some physical discomfort and you just allowed that to be? What if you allowed your life to just unfold and you became the observer of it and you noticed that what was going on was just happening? In that non-resistive place, in that centeredness, you will find that your mind will relax, your body will relax, and the pain goes away. It really, really does. And so when you have somebody mad at you, do you feel like you've got to do something about that? I know I've spent most of my life that way. I know that I used to be extremely sensitive, and when somebody would say something to me that would hurt my feelings, which was about anything, then what would I do? I would shut down, or I'd cry, or I'd go away, or I'd think they don't like me and they don't want to be around me. Because I didn't know that what goes on over there, what appears to be over there, is really what they're projecting on me. I didn't recognize that what I was drawing towards me was something that was in me. So now that I know so much more about these kinds of things, I'm able to be with what is in a whole different way than I might have. So if you've gone through that something is very disappointing lately, what if you allowed that to be okay? What if there was something great about that you haven't seen yet? What if what you didn't accomplish in that moment was going to open you up to something more profound? So if you are wanting to get a better job, make more money, if you would like your children to be better, if you would like to lose weight, if you would like to have more vitality, do you think on any level that putting energy on what isn't working, the pain of that experience, is going to make it better? No, I promise you it will not. Therefore, you have the option and you have the responsibility, for lack of a better term, to actually decide for yourself how you're going to be with what's going on in your life. So when you do that, you take charge, if you will, of what's happening inside of your headset. And when you're in charge of what's going on in your headset, your life feels differently. You are able to be expansive. And how do you get okay with the pain that's physical and it doesn't feel good? I'll tell you very honestly, I've been in a lot of physical pain in my life. Most of you know that I was in a really serious car accident many years ago. I went through the windshield of a car. I smashed all my sinuses, broke all my ribs, had 150 stitches in my face. I was in a wheelchair for a year, and I had to sleep upright in a hospital bed for 3 months. I hurt a lot. I hurt emotionally. I hurt mentally. I hurt physically big time. And since then, I've had a lot of other things that have been perceived as painful. And then when you get a little bit older, then you really get to see what pain's like, because your body sometimes doesn't respond the way that you would like it to do. Some of you know what I'm talking about. So that means that you have the option to be with it. And what does that mean? For me, it means that I breathe into it. I feel the sensation in my physical body, let's say it's physical pain, and I just take a breath and I breathe right into that joint. I get leg cramps fairly often. And when that happens, I know my electrolytes are off. I need more calcium. And so I'll take more calcium. But while that's happening, I breathe into that cramp. Does it mean that I don't sometimes get out of bed and stand straight on my feet because that helps it be better? I definitely do that. But there are times when I have a lot of different kinds of discomforts in my body, and I literally just like send light into it or energy into it. And I relax and I breathe into it. You can do that with anything, mental, emotional, physical pain, and you will be surprised how not only does it dissipate and go away, it doesn't reoccur in the same way, especially if you've got one of those recycled programming things going on, like, he said this to me and I can't stand it and I don't like it, and on you're replaying that program over and over in your mind. That is self-sabotage. That is self-punishment. Don't do that to yourself. You are way too lovable to put that kind of intention in your own body system. Be aware of how you be with you. Be aware of how you're speaking to yourself. Be aware of how you're treating yourself. And when you feel discomfort and you make peace with discomfort, then you're going to find that you will feel a lot more joyful. But you know what's really awesome about it? You get empowered. You get empowered because you realize, if pain doesn't stop me, then nothing can stop me. We live in a polarity-based system where we have up, down, good, bad, pain, pleasure. So be okay with all it is. And you will be the master of your life and your mood and your attitude and your results and everything else. So practice that this week. It'll be fun to see how you do with it. Be the observer of the pain rather than the victim of the pain, and watch what occurs for you. It will change things, I promise you. It's very powerful, and use that breath. Relax. So what I would recommend for you today is to go find somebody who's having a rough time and give them a hug. Send them an email. Somebody that maybe you don't even get along with and maybe you think you don't even like so much. What if you stepped out of your comfort zone, out of the pain of feeling disconnected from them, and you sent them an email or a text and say, I was just thinking about you. I hope you're having a great day. Something that's perhaps a little uncomfortable, a little bit out of your box, because that's learning how to move through the pain into a place where you are able to find that all joy comes from a sense of relaxation, of giving, and being with what is. Until next time, feel a hug.